we're being honest, it was probably frustration that then led to an inspiration. Why do we not have these clear processes? Why do we not have these clear templates? Why do we not have these clear checkpoints, schedules? We did a 300,000 square foot project and we did not have a project management software. I personally managed over 500 RFIs, once again, with no project management software. For something like that, I actually created my own management methods to work through all of that. Was laid off part-time and then eventually full-time, furloughed from a job. And I just started building the company, but this is the way we're going to run the company. This is the way we're going to learn our feedback loop. One of my biggest frustrations with architecture is this is the way we've always done it.
Today we sit down with Elias, the architect who got laid off and built a company that challenges how an entire industry operates. In this episode, he reveals why this is the way we've always done it is quietly killing innovation, how managing over 500 RFIs without project management software exposed a broken system, and the frustration that turned into a blueprint for something better.
Welcome to the Inevitable Cast. This podcast is sponsored by Inevitable Flow. We help architecture, engineering, and construction companies generate a consistent flow of qualified project leads using smart AI solutions. If you want to book a free consultation to find out more, click the link in the description of the show. Our guest today is Elias Horat, the founder and studio director of Create School, which is an architecture firm designing thoughtful, community-driven spaces. They blend storytelling with function across all phases of design. Elias, it is a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thanks. I'm so glad to be here and excited to talk about architecture and the industry and everything.
Oh, we're very excited to talk about that. To start, I would like to understand a little bit more about you and your role in Create School. What has inspired you to start Create School, and how did your background shape its mission?
Yeah. Great question. The first thing, I wish it was maybe inspiration that made me want to start Create School. I think if we're being honest, it was probably frustration that then led to an inspiration. When I finished grad school, I moved to San Francisco and worked for a couple large firms for a few years at different places. Some really great companies that did really large scale office projects that were really beautiful projects and great clients, great teams to work on. But there was a constant frustration sometimes that would lead really big team issues with communication, client management, project management, all of those different issues. And I would actually take notes on all of the issues I saw. A couple times at each company I worked at, I actually presented to management. Things that now I think for people that don't work in the industry would seem so basic. And then sometimes for people in the industry, they might seem so intense. Simple things like project management software. One of the companies I worked at, we did a 300,000 square foot project and we did not have a project management software. We were the coordinating campus architects. So we not only did interior design, we also coordinated all of these different trades with no project management software. I personally managed over 500 RFIs, once again, with no project management software. For something like that, I actually created my own management methods to work through all of that. But really this frustration of why do we not have these clear processes? Why do we not have these clear templates? Why do we not have these clear checkpoints, schedules, all these different items? And even if we did have a schedule, it was so basic, it was very unclear. We might hold ourselves to it, but we wouldn't hold our clients to it. And it just came from kind of big frustration of the way we did things. I love design. I'm very passionate about design, very passionate about being an architect. So basically through these years of experience, understanding of the industry, understanding of different project types, I came up with this idea to start my own company, which was, I think for a lot of architects, it's always in the back of your head and it's kind of a, when will this happen? How will this happen? And I was actually thrown into it during the pandemic, was laid off part-time and then eventually full-time, furloughed from a job. And I just started building the company, as simple as starting with the mission statement to a lot of the way we would do processes, not necessarily thinking about our design will look like this or this will be our style, but this is the way we're going to run the company. This is the way we're going to learn our feedback loop, all those different ideas. And from all that, eventually Creates Cool was born. I very purposefully named the studio not my last name, not my initials, because I very much, even though it was just me to begin, I didn't want it to just be me. I didn't want it just to be my style. I very much saw it as a collaborative studio. And I'm very thankful we've now grown into that about 5 years later, with a growing team of full-time and part-time, really diverse projects. One of our main points of design is we don't have one style we stick to. We believe good design comes from our client, paired with our design expertise, creates good, unique design. Our portfolio very much shows that. A lot of times we get clients asking if we're familiar with one style, and if we haven't done it before, I just let them know we're so open to doing it, and we can definitely change to that. And then, of course, as you probably have guessed, our processes, our templates, our design guidelines, the way we do everything, is very organized, maybe to a fault, but it really helps us run a very efficient studio, meet our deadlines. We're a smaller studio, and the work we push out is that of a mid-sized, larger studio because of everything we've set up, from templates of, understanding details that are needed. When we get a permit comment back on a certain project, we add that into our standards so we make sure we'll never get that permit comment again. From detailed checklists that even my most junior designers, who maybe only worked for me for 1 month, can understand how to review a technical drawing set, ask questions if they have some questions about that. Of course, as I mentioned a pain point before, we've got a project management software we built with the help of an engineer, to manage everything, complete client transparency, letting them know what's needed for each phase, complete collaboration. All those different ideas come together, and have created the studio that we are now. And I'm the founder of it. And then just also the studio director. I still stamp drawings as the architect, have a team of just under 10 people, part full-time, working here in the Bay Area. And everyone kind of works on everything.
That is amazing. I'm so inspired already to know that the reason why Create School was actually came to life. I've been in the industry myself. I could relate to like 99% of the frustrations you mentioned there. And I think the way you're approaching it is really commendable, by establishing the processes so that your team can actually run efficiently, and you can actually put out workloads that it would be of a company that maybe three times your size.
Mhm.
So that's really impressive. As the founder and the director of this company, I'm just curious, like, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, great question. It's so much emails. Oh my God. When I am fortunate enough to, and actually this happened a few years in, which I was very happy about. Fortunate enough to be able to take time off now. And I mean, my catch up, it's all just emails. But I begin each day. I like to actually start my day before my team, to kind of just get on top of everything, understand what everyone's doing. And this last year, we've transitioned into more kind of multi-level management, which has been really great. So I'm no longer checking in on everything. I've got very capable junior PMs who are able to understand their deadlines when they check in on permitting projects. So that's really great. So that's taken a huge load off my plate. But definitely, I still enjoy, and just the privilege of most of our days are working from home with a few in office work days. But I love to start the day before my team, just do a quick read through of everything that came in. I read every single email that came in. Emails that take long responses or need a more thoughtful response or help from my team, I definitely star and mark those to make sure nothing is lost throughout the day. Do a full review of my schedule, just understand what's happening for the day, if there's anything in person, anything big, any calls that's happening. And then once I do that, I just step away from all of it. I make a really nice breakfast, take a pretty long shower. I'm very privileged to be able to do that and just step away from work, kind of step into my podcast world of what's either it's inspiration, comedy, or news. It's been a lot more comedy recently just because it's needed with
Right.
everything that's happening. And then really just focus time. Our team, I'm personally pretty anti-meeting. I don't know if it's that I joined the workforce in person and then enjoyed the privilege of having a corporate job during COVID where we didn't have a lot of meetings. Most of my team is also a little bit younger and they also don't like meetings. So our days are pretty, you really manage yourself. And I'm included in that where I really just do a lot of heads down time, making sure I answer for anyone. Of course, there's blocks in my calendar, both for designers to be able to pop on my calendar whenever they want. And then also blocks in my calendar where my team knows not to message me. For example, when I'm doing any sort of technical contract writing, which I reserve slots for multiple times a week, they know that Elias is not going to respond during that time. There's financials that happen every so often. There's blocks for that. I do big blocks for travel time just to let people know that, hey, there's a chance that I'm driving or won't be able to answer. So they know when
Mhm.
I'm available, when I'm not available. And then beyond just the project management side, there's basically a constant list, or yeah, it is an always constant list of what we call non-project tasks, both for my team and myself. These range from marketing, business growth, any sort of special items that we're working on. A lot of times they're competitions, creative projects, and it's basically a running list. It, of course, is different for me versus a designer, but those are
Mhm.
just items to always chip away at. So some of them, they're arranged in importance and they're arranged in what needs to happen. For example, today I want to revisit our intro marketing PDF. I want to reach out to a couple developers we've worked with just to make sure that relationship stays good. Also, today I'm doing quarterly check-ins with not all of my team today, but a lot of my team today. So it's a lot of project management, pushed in with kind of team management, firm management as well. And then throughout the day, as days just fill up, there's a lot of redlining that happens, reviews. I'm constantly tracking all the tasks. I know we've got two CD sets, a permit set going out this week. So in the back of my head, I'm just ready that Friday morning is probably going to be filled up with the digital whiteboard marking everything up.
Of course, in the work of an architect, I would call it the fun work is coming up with the designs and
Mhm.
making the project come to life. The not so gracious work is dealing with the permitting department and code compliance and all of this. Like
Yeah.
I went and California is like a very tough jurisdiction to play in. I play in it myself and I know
Yeah.
how frustrating it can be sometimes. And I wonder, how do you manage to stay organized and stay on top of it?
Yeah. Yeah, so once again, we built basically a custom Airtable management that's also linked to our Notion management to stay on top of everything. We pride ourselves on diversity of projects and diversity of locations. That's a double-edged sword. The really exciting part is that we don't get bored when we're working on a cafe in Oakland and then a home remodel in San Francisco, a new restaurant in San Francisco. We're working on a shoe store in San Jose and a boxing ring in Palo Alto. It's just we're all over the Bay Area. And that being said, not only are those different project types have different requirements, they also have all different processes when it comes to permitting jurisdictions. One of the funny things architects told me when I started working in San Francisco was it's the hardest here and it'll be easier everywhere else. And I was like, I've told my team that, so I just keep repeating it. Comically, we loved working in San Francisco, so we might have just chosen the hardest place to work in, as far as the Bay Area goes. But that being said, one of the nice things about having such diverse projects and such diverse locations is we almost visit every project or permitting of every project with fresh eyes. So for example, if we only worked in San Francisco and then we had one project in Oakland, it would be really frustrating because we would just constantly go, well, in San Francisco, it's like this, and Oakland is, different process and different submittal portal, and it's a different way to review comments and blah, blah, blah. Because we work in so many different places, and I just looked through our logins yesterday. We've got 75 logins. So, that's 75 jurisdictions, cities that we're working in. They all have different requirements. They all have different processes. A few of them might use the same software, but it's still completely different. So the way we visit any sort of permitting project is we visit it when we start the process. Before we even do a contract, we actually review the submittal guidelines. As we're working towards, let's say we get that project, as we're working towards our technical drawings, once again, we have a team member look through all the requirements. Typically, there's a checklist. Sometimes it's a comically small checklist like floor plans. Sometimes it's a detailed checklist. Show your toilets that are this far away from the wall. It depends on the project, it depends on the city. We still review that to put our best foot forward, completely acknowledging that we are probably going to get comments back. And then we have a team that divides and conquers, and we basically treat our permits like that. Everyone has calendar blocks to check in on their permits each week. One of the silver linings of the pandemic is so many cities that had one or two employees and would say, come here and wait in line, they went digital. So every jurisdiction, with the exception of like a sanitary department in Walnut Creek, almost all are digital, which has really helped us, and I think has actually been the key to one of our successes. Is that it is all digital communication. We're a younger studio. We're very familiar. We can read PDFs. We can understand digital comments. We understand how to show that on our drawings rather than being there in person. There are a couple larger cities in the Bay Area, Oakland, San Jose, San Francisco, that do offer permitting. And we take advantage of those. Or personally go down to the San Francisco permit office. Feels
Create that
pretty
relationship, right?
old-fashioned,
Show
pretty
your
funny to,
face.
yeah, have the drawings there. Thankfully, it's rare enough because it's smaller projects that it's not like I'm bogged down there every day. And I can visit it with fresh eyes, and you just kind of embrace the bureaucracy of it all. Try to be honest with your client, or you are honest with your clients. You try to let them know what to expect. They're still probably going to be shocked and frustrated. A lot of
How
that.
do you manage that?
So it's difficult. The first thing I tell anyone with permitting is we designed this up to code to our best knowledge. There will always be something that will be funky that will come up in every permit process. This says as we've gone along, there are certain project types now where I can say confidently, this will go through. We're fortunate enough to have a big enough feedback loop to where certain project types, we can submit with no comments, or, receive a permit with no comments. That being said, city ordinances are constantly changing, state laws are constantly changing. So things that aren't required all of a sudden. I did a restaurant last week, permitted, no comments as is. Did a restaurant this week. Baby changing stations are now required in San Francisco, single use remodeled bathrooms. That happened last week. Like there's so much going on that it's just
Yeah.
impossible at some point. So I do our best to set up client expectations. I will say what's consistent is that clients say, yeah, and we understand it's funky. They don't understand just how funky it is.
Mm.
They don't. We did a project in Palo Alto where we went through, I think, just one round of permit comments, got everything approved. One electrical reviewer was being a little funky, took a little bit extra time. We got it all approved. Then all of a sudden, the city came back and said, we want this document notarized by a city
Hmm.
notary. So you can't just get it notarized. You got to get notarized by a city notary. My clients are in Asia. Like they thought that we had this all done and this is the final step. They come back from Asia, they get it notarized, they go down there in person, which is just so annoying, first off. But they go down there in person, they wait for the city employee, they sign it, and then we're told that there's a 30-day period for them to process this piece of paperwork.
Yeah,
And that's just like, we did everything right. We followed all of your guidelines. And then you say, as this final step, there's this period. I mean, my contractor's ready to go. He's got materials on site. He's like, I've got your approved drawings. We're all set to go. And they won't issue this permit. San
that sounds
Francisco
super fun.
is almost one of those cities where it was so bad that they're now working to make it better. So that helps having people on your side, but there's still just funky things that always come up. Timelines. We've got like some jurisdictions have a city reviewer working on a project and they go on PTO for 3 weeks, which they should take time off, but nobody replaces them. So I got an email a couple weeks ago where it said, "Hey, can you send me back these plan edits this afternoon? Otherwise, I won't be able to review it for 3 weeks." and I'm out on a site visit and I'm emailing my team frantically going, hey, drop everything. You now have to change our plumbing fixture count for this one reviewer. Otherwise, there's not a chance this will be approved in 3 weeks. So it's always something new. We try to tell clients all of it. And I think by the end of the process, it's funny because we work with a lot of first-time clients. It's pretty rare someone's doing a big remodel for the second time.
Right.
And they always start with, oh, and we understand San Francisco's funky. We understand the bureaucracy. And then by the end of it, they're like, oh, I actually understand just how bad it is. And it's frustrating, it's stressful. We let clients know we're on the same team here. We're pushing for you, we're fighting for you.
Yeah.
We're frustrated. It's money starts to get involved when you've got someone who's told they'll have an approval, they move out of their house, they're renting somewhere. Sometimes
Yeah.
someone hires a contractor too soon, and it's complicated. It's a stressful world. It's people's businesses, it's people's houses. We understand that. It's a lot.
For a lot of people, that's the most important asset that they're ever gonna own in their lives,
Yeah.
right? And they're trusting you with it. And with permitting, is what you said. You do what you can do, and the rest is unfortunately not up to your control. And all you can do is just level the expectations with the client.
Yeah.
Do your best to provide all the documentation they want to see, check all the boxes, and hope for an expedited review. Yeah.
It's funny, we've had some projects where, interior remodels in San Francisco, we've gotten really good at. We just did a lot in our beginning and we can whip through them pretty quickly. And I had one where I did the whole permit process from start to end in 4 hours in person. Typically we estimate 1 to 2 weeks because of comment round or, just waiting in lines. Um, and it was funny because it was the flip side where I was like, this went so smoothly, this went so well. And I'm kind of like wanting to shake these drawings in front of the client, being like, do you know how good this was? But then that client's just going to be like, it wasn't a big deal. That's what to
Yeah.
expect. Whereas I'm like, I want to show you how bad it can be. I want to show you how good you have it in a way.
I wonder, like with like so much influx and so many things happening, clients, that designs, projects,
Yeah.
permitting, what tools and methods do like have become essential for managing the construction document creation and the permitting pipeline? I think you mentioned you have like your own project management
Yeah.
system. I heard, I think Airtable, Notion, like what does your tool stack look like?
We've got kind of I think it used to be a holy trinity of programs, and now it's just a circle of programs that we use. We need Airtable, and I don't know if well, for us, we actually have explored that Airtable is the right project or product. We tended to stick away from architectural project management specific software because our process is different. And a lot of times, what we found in software that's designed for architects is it's designed off of an older way of doing things. And just, I've done consulting for tech startups. I've personally never been employed full time. Most of my community here is a part of that startup world or part of that tech world. And I've gotten a really great glimpse into a better way of doing things. One of my biggest frustrations with architecture is this is the way we've always done it. From the beginning phase of we use contracts that were created, the AIA, their contracts were created in the 80s and they haven't changed. They've changed a little bit of text, but like the industry has not changed. So
Yeah.
I steered away from architecture specific items because while I think it's nice to have someone who understands the ins and outs, it's actually nicer to approach it with a fresh pair of eyes, which is what I did when I looked at management, how we run things, how we do things. Talking to friends who are project managers at startup companies, at larger tech companies that are product managers, understanding client satisfaction, understanding all of that. So very quickly off, I was like, we need some sort of software. Worked with Airtable. We used Airtable as basically a smart-ish Excel sheet for a long time. And then I just, spent a good amount of money, hired an engineer, and talked him through everything I thought we needed. He talked me through everything he thought we needed. He ended up being a lot more right, just because he's done this a lot. And I almost was the problematic architect in that sense, where I was like, this is how projects go, this is how tasks should be set up. And he went, more often than not, it kind of works like this. But it's something that In fact, I just edited one of our tables yesterday. It's something that we're always changing and improving as we know shape and grow as a firm, understanding roles and assignments. But we use Airtable for management. We use Notion a little bit for management, but more for our standards as just a place where we just gather everything. One of my biggest frustrations working at previous companies, for example, I worked at a firm that did a lot of similar commercial TIs, workplace tenant improvements. And it would be a lot of the same things that we'd have two senior architects in the house review for. And I would watch them and they would, check this number, they would review this. And I went, is what you guys review our drawings for, is it written down somewhere so I could do the review first? And that seemed like such a simple thing. And it was kind of this, no, we keep the keys to knowledge. And I went, absolutely not. First off, I don't want to be the architect who's having my secret little, I'm going to check your occupancy calc. If, that's my little
Yeah,
secret thing I check for or look for every time.
right,
I want my employee to do that. I want my team member to do that. So started with just all of my knowledge being put in there, and then it's a huge feedback loop. So our database has everything from San Francisco guidelines for toilet spacing, all the way down to here's how you send out a schematic design presentation. Here's our email template. We've got a lot of placeholders in there. Add a personal note or add certain callouts. Everything from here's how you name a schematic design presentation, here's where you save a schematic design presentation, send it out, here's who you share it with. Things like backgrounds, when we're sending out drawings to consultants, we have exact folders we save them in, we have exact names we save them in, we have sharing settings, all of that set up. That way I don't want to spend my day going to my designer, hey, Stacy, can you change the name? Can you send the sharing settings? Can you make sure there's a PDF outside the CAD folder?
right,
That's not what my day is going to be spent on. They're going to do
exactly.
that. I'm going to double check all that. I'm going to make sure
Yeah,
that's good to go out, but I don't want to be the one telling someone over and over how to do all that. We're
nice.
a hybrid remote studio, so we use Miro for whiteboard marking up drawings. We had a comical little period where we used an Adobe program and saving files. Didn't work out. We love Miro. We hop in there all at the same time, and we'll be drawing things up, working on projects. Designers will be asking questions. We all have our own little color sticky notes. So, like, if it's an orange sticky note, it's an Elias review. If it's blue, it's Stacy. I think Anush is green, or maybe those are switched up, but just very clear understanding who's who to go to if you have questions. We are constantly on Slack all day. We use Google Suite for everything from file sharing internally to externally file sharing. I mentioned kind of my typical day with calendar. My calendar is shared for the whole team. My team's calendars are shared for me too, so I can understand, if there's a reason they're not responding or when to, maybe they're out on a site visit all day, so I'm not going to assign them a task for the morning. Really, any program that helps us with transparency, gathering knowledge, data of everything we've learned, and then just making sure we understand what everyone's working on, and how we all work together.
This is all great. And you mentioned something interesting as far as what part of this you delegate to your team and what part of it you take on yourself to do. Like, I wonder, like, as a business owner in this space, what metrics are you most focusing on right now and focusing on improving?
Um, I This year in particular has been a big shift, I think, or I know in project management. For example, permitting we realized would be much more successful if we divided and conquered. There's still a lot of help that we have to do for each other. And in fact, I have to ask for help sometimes if I am like, I'm going to send out this permit comment set. I'm pinging Anush saying, hey, do we upload to this portal? Is that right? Or is this an email one? We do have standards written down for that, but just sometimes you still just need to ask a little more help on certain projects. Delegating project management has been huge for team members, starting, of course, as you can probably imagine, on a smaller project, a little more bite size. I'm here to support, I'm here to CC everything, but really just wanting to give the keys to designers. I think we talked for a second about, kind of the beginning design phase of like an architect. And so often that's like an architect might sketch it out, then rounds of red lines. I really want to provide tools for my designers. I don't need to see that you have a license for you to be able to take a swing at designing or doing space planning. I'll give you the resources. I'm here to help. I'm here to bounce ideas off of. But I really love sending out to my designers the client goals. And sometimes it's as simple as I'll just let them know, hey, I researched setbacks. Here's, I think, the outline of what the addition can be. They want to put in a suite, primary bathroom, closet, and a living area below. Take a crack at it, and then ping me when you've got questions. And it's
Yeah.
really fun to actually put that into the hands of other people. We are able to get a lot more creative by multiple people working on projects. And passing that off. And then I think one of my shortfallings in all of this is sometimes I give too much. I'm very hands off. I want to make sure people can manage their own projects, but sometimes it might happen too soon. And it's I've got to check in where we talked about this, and it was the designer kind of thought I don't want to expect the designer to know exactly what they can take on because if you haven't taken on project management before, then you wouldn't know. But it's kind of that weird place where it's like, oh, to be a project manager, you must have years project managing, and it's like there's always going to be this weird transition phase. So one of my lessons has just really been not only asking someone to do something, but then making myself available, and then also just, really making sure people can raise their hand, saying, if this is unclear, if you don't know next steps, let me know. That being said, we've got multiple check-ins a week. We've got check-ins in person, and then we've got, online check-ins for later in the week as well. That we make that space for everyone to be able to raise their hand, and let me know if they have questions or anything.
It seems like, you've recently, added more people to the team in a way and like gave them more responsibilities, as you're saying, this delegation for junior project managers. And I wonder, like, as you scale and optimize the business, what performance indicators do you use to measure success for your company?
Yeah. I'll say first off, I think the proper talent is so capable. That was another frustration is I just wanted to take on more and more. And it was this like almost this fratty, like, oh, I went through this, you have to go through this. And you have to put in your years and years experience definitely is very valuable. At the same time, technology is different. I'm not hand drafting for 5 years to learn details. I'm not drafting in CAD 2D. My designers are working in Revit. They understand projects so well and so much faster than anyone who is just working in 2D. So first off, I love to give people the opportunity to grow. And, I do think if you give the opportunity to most people to grow, they will shine. And then also let you know, hopefully when they need help. One of my key indicators is the basically the stepping up beyond what I asked for. And that isn't necessarily like, oh, you decided to take on this whole huge project. A lot of times it's really simple. And some of the ones that I see that are just my favorite that make me so happy because I know we're doing good work and I know that I'm leading this team correctly is having a designer who's doing a health permit set. And, health permitting in the Bay Area is so unique, it's so complicated from equipment to finishes. And I have a designer ask a question that says, hey, I noticed we've only got one hand sink, but on this project that we did last year, hand sinks were required every 12 feet. Should I add in another hand sink? Should I bring this up to the owner or should we wait? And I love that when I see that. Um, I love when I'm tagged on red lines and it's like, hey, Elias, this was marked up by this by the client, and maybe even it was marked up by you. Does this code not apply? Because they're learning, they're taking on things. I love when someone emails me or someone slacks me and says, hey, Elias, I'm still waiting for that MEP consultant. I saw you emailed them 2 weeks ago, but we haven't heard back. Would you like me to send a follow-up email? Because those are often items that I lose track of. And I love when the team members can step up and show me, that they're getting it. That and then also, sometimes it might be that they're not getting it. They might be like, "Oh, hey, I'm designing this ADU. It has to be this high," and I'm like, "Oh no, that other project was a local ordinance about the height of the ADU. That doesn't apply to this one." The fact that they're still thinking that way is so huge to me, especially for someone who's growing and learning. And I mean, our whole team is, I am as much as anyone else. Um, that just shows me that they're putting in effort. And I think We have had team members on our team who have not been successful, who have been let go or moved on to other things. And those are the team members who kind of sit and wait. They wait for a red line. They wait to be told. They wait to, see exactly what to do on a project. They aren't, checking our checklists and then saying, "Hey, Elias, you marked this up, but it's not on our checklist. Should it be on our checklist? Or is it just this one project unique?" Those things those make me so happy. I know that we're doing better projects for our clients, and I know that our team is just getting better.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. Over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, where do you want to be, and is there anything exciting that you're working on right now that you are like excited to put out to the world? And
I'd like to be here still. I'm loving working in the Bay Area. San Francisco, as anyone who reads the news, which is of course elevated, has had its issues, but we're bouncing back. We're a resilient city, and I have loved not only experiencing this area and learning more about this area, and I mean, been here for a decade and still just loving it so much. I've loved putting a lot of work into this area too. I'm so happy to see so many people moving here, so many storefronts starting up. I mean, I would have never guessed that almost like 2 years ago, one of my designers was like, "What if we did hospitality?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would be really fun." I would never have guessed that it would become such a staple for us, that it would become such a skill set for us that we're able to do. And it's just so exciting to work with those small businesses. We offer small business discounts because we love working with those clients so much. I'm hoping to, in 6 to 12 months, there's a lot of law changes that are happening in regards to multifamily housing density. I'm really hoping to continue to be a part of creating more housing in our area, in our state, maybe in the country. It's just very exciting to me. One of the projects we're working on is one of the first, I think it's actually the first, I think others maybe have been filed since, the first high-rise office to residential conversion here in San Francisco. We'll see how that goes. Whenever you're the first of something, it's going to be difficult. But we're working with planning on it. We've got a great, energetic, exciting team working on that. Really excited to see what happens. And then one of our really fun things about one of the things we do at Creates Cool, we don't just, necessarily lock ourselves in a corner of design or even what we do product wise or what we create. We are working and have been working on and actually launched last year a study guide for people who are trying to become an architect. It's called ArchU. It's definitely a work in progress. It is, and it will continue to be the cheapest study guide. We offer it at $10 a month compared to other products that are $200 a month. Personally, myself, becoming an architect was very expensive. It's very expensive exams. It's a lot of time. It's a big commitment. It's an overworked industry, and then you're asked to pay money and study and work harder. And we want to break down some of those barriers to really help designers become architects. We believe it's very valuable and something that once again, when I talk about these kind of feedback loops, it was one of those things where when I became an architect, I went, I've got my knowledge, I want to share it with the world. With that being said, we've got some really exciting launch updates coming up. We've got full practice exams we're launching. We've launched a AI bot, which I know AI is kind of a scary word, but basically it can help you study in a really cool way. A part of that, we're launching giveaways like free exams. We really just want to break down these barriers to help people become licensed architects. We also in this first year, we've had a lot of feedback from our very first users, and we're excited to make those changes and just create something that is, hopefully eventually will be the best product out there for the most affordable. One of our points is we really want people to become licensed architects and not pay more than an exam of study materials, because oftentimes your study materials can be double the amount of the exams. Just this week, actually, there were published statistics by NCARB, which does the AREs. The AREs are becoming more diverse, which is really exciting. More people are taking the AREs to become architects, which is really exciting. And we want to be part of that positive change for all of that. So we've got exciting projects in the pipeline. We've got this study guide that's in the pipeline. Personally speaking, we've got a cute merch items coming out that kind of explain our name a little better. Creates Cool is a fun name to read. It's a little hard to say on the phone, but it just explains our brand, who we are, some cute like tote bags and some other fun stuff that I don't think I'm allowed to share yet, but we'll be launching those shortly as well.
Awesome. For people that are interested in talking more about with Create School and maybe looking at this study guide, how can they best reach out to you?
You can go to our website. We've got lots of contact forms. It's createschool.com. I feel like I should spell it out because if someone's listening, it's a little bit, people are always like, you create school or, so it's createschool, createschool.com. From there, it's going to be so easy to contact us. We've got a cute little chat bot that will pop up, and you can even, from that chat bot, you can schedule a meeting with me. I've got calendar blocks. Sometimes it books up, but typically you'll have a calendar block where you can talk with me. Our study guide is archu.us. That's archu.us. And yeah, we would love to continue the conversation. I also personally have acted as a mentor for any students, emerging professionals, happy to talk about. We also do free mentorship sessions through ArchU. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. I don't know who this is going to reach out to. We're always looking for partnerships. We're always growing our consultant list. We're always growing our contractor list. I love making those connections, learning about people, their work that they do. We gain so much knowledge from our different structural engineers, our contractors who give us feedback. We love growing our network. We love meeting other architects too, other entrepreneurs. Really just, I guess I just love meeting people.
I share that same feeling, Elias. Elias, sounds like you've had an incredible journey so far. Congratulations on everything you have achieved with Create School. And I wanted to ask you a question. If you had like a magic wand to fix one thing that slowed you down, what would it be?
I mean, we talked about permitting so much. I've almost just
Disappear.
accepted that. I'm like, can we just get rid of that? I'm at a place of accept. I went through all the different stages of grief and denial, and I'm at acceptance. That is what it is. It's almost the magic wand that we're almost working on, or we are working on, and we haven't perfected it yet. But it would really be knowledge for clients. We've actually created a bot that has basically all the technical information to help clients understand budgets. Everything from the first time we do a proposal and they see the proposal and like, this is so much money. I go, oh, I wish you could have known that, like, before we took that time or before you get excited about this project that you might not be able to do it, or it might be on a different timeline or a different scope. I want them to know, about the permitting pain points that we talked about. And, this magic wand would basically just give that knowledge to people who are working on their first projects to really just understand everything. A lot of it's not fun information, but a lot of it too, at the same time, is really rewarding. We've talked about the pain points of those people who are designing their homes or remodeling or taking their savings to make a storefront. This is also going to be one of the most rewarding things ever. And I wish we could kind of just wave the wand of letting them know everything from what the project painful process will be, how long things will take, how expensive things will take, the feeling of the reward, all of that. I don't want to hold any keys. I want to just be transparent and let people know everything. And I wish that, yeah, we're continuing to work on it. So, maybe if we talked again in a year, I would have a different one and maybe I'd be like, my wish came true. We're working on it. We want to definitely help people understand this whole process and projects and everything.
Amazing. Elias, thank you so much for your insights and sharing your experience and background. It has been really valuable to have you here with us.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So that brings us to the end of this episode. This podcast is sponsored by Inevitable Flow. We help architecture, engineering, construction firms generate a consistent flow of qualified project leads using AI-powered outbound systems, so they can grow revenue without hiring a sales team or rely on unpredictable referrals. If you want to book a free consultation to find out more, click the link in the description of the show. I'll see you next time.